لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد فقال سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم في حديث الصحيح بدأ الإسلام غريبا سعود غريبا فطوبى للغرباء. Alhamdulillah, we begin with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam to tell us, that this is my way. هذه سبيلي. This is my way. أدعو. I call towards Allah. I call towards Allah. In these ayat, and the hadith that I'm going to mention, is the usul of da'wah. Today, we have many people, and I'm going to be blunt. So if I offend anybody, I don't care. We'll have to come back. It's alright. Other countries to go to. Many people claiming to do da'wah, utilizing many different ways of doing da'wah, with many jama'at, groups, whether they call themselves something pubs and something jama'ah and something this, something that. But people have forgotten the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people think da'wah means you have to be a PhD in philosophy, and you have to master Aristotle and Plato and Homer Simpson and all those guys. That's not Simpson, right? Never mind. Yeah. Homer Simpson, it doesn't matter. And you have to do some kind of metaphysical gymnastics to give da'wah. Other people think da'wah means to sell out your religion. Tell somebody, Akhi, how are you sitting on an interfaith panel with a mushrik, lesbian priestess, and you're sitting there and approving and engaging in the acts of passing the candle of Christ, and water is being poured and crosses being made on people's heads. Oh, this is da'wah. MashaAllah. Look like shirk to me, but some people think da'wah means just backbiting other Muslims and attacking every da'i who doesn't agree with everything you've ever said in their life. This is their da'wah. All day watching a video, not benefiting from anything. Finding one mistake clip. This is da'wah. This is their da'wah. Not to call towards tawheed or bid'ah, no. Just to see if I can find some way to discredit you. Some people think da'wah means that we all get together in a masjid and drink tea and have backpacks and visit the imam and the muaddin and call them to come for salah, which they're coming anyway, and this is da'wah. Told you, I don't care if I offend you. Da'wah should be done in accordance to the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the way of the Sahaba, the Salaf of this ummah. This is what we derive from this ayah. This ayah has istidlal. There is the explicit meaning, which is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say that this is my way. I call towards Allah. Ala basira, upon sure, clear evidences. Not ala al-kalam wal-falsafa, la. Upon that insight that we get from the Qur'an and Sunnah. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam clarifies, this is my way. Meaning, ana, this is what I'm upon. Man taba'ani, and whoever makes ittiba', whoever is a follower of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is their way. This is our way, all of us. As followers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is our way. We call towards Allah. Islam contains many things. Every bab, every chapter, every ilm from the ulum of Sharia, you go into, it's bahr, it's an ocean. You want to study fiqh, you have beginning mutun, then you have advanced mutun, then you have shuruh of those mutun, then you have taliqat on those mutun, you have hashiyat on those mutun, and it just grows. You do Umda, then you go to Al-Muqni', then you go to Al-Kafi, then you go to Al-Mughni, and so on, right? So if you go into the Bab of Fiqh, you get lost in it. It's beautiful. I love it. In Hadith, you start Hadith, books of Hadith, and Shuruh of Hadith, and Takhrij of Hadith, and so many ulum of Hadith from Ilm al-Rijal, and this and that. There are so many sciences. Qira'at al-Qur'an. You study Hafs and Asim, and you study Shu'ba and Asim. Then you have Warsh and Nafi', Qalun and Nafi', Qunbul, Buzbi, so many, Ibn Kathir, Ibn Amr, all these Qur'at. Then you look at the differences in Qur'at and the ahkam from it, and the mudud, and the makharij, and all of this. Beautiful. You get lost in it. And that's the beauty of Islam. It's oceans and oceans of things. And all of them are important. Sadaqat, khairat, helping people. But the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way of every Muslim as word in the Quran, is to call towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, thumma alhamdulillah. This ayah also gives us the way to do it. If this is the sabil al-Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, then we have to do it in accordance to the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is called istidlal. This is what we take as inferred from it. So when you want to give da'wah, you have to see how did the Prophet ﷺ do it. Did he ﷺ sit with the Quraysh and say, you're good, we're good, you're all good, you worship Lat, no problem, you worship Uzza, no problem. Let's go to the places where you worship Lat and Uzza, and you worship Lat and Uzza, and I'll hand you the idol. It's not the way of Rasulullah ﷺ. I know there are people who want to sell out Islam wholesale. We're not going to let it happen. We're going to stand and tell them no. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. We will never merge religions. We will never validate any of the religion. Look, if somebody wants to choose a path to Jahannam, that's their choice. We're not forcing Islam on anybody. But we will never say that this is valid. Our Islam, and Allah, Deen al-Islam, that's it. The only deen in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Islam. We have to stand firm on that. We don't sell out. When we look at da'wah, calling towards Allah, how did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam do it? He went out to the streets. At the time, they used to have Mu'sam al-Hajj, the season of Hajj, like we have today, except they were mushrikeen. And at that time, the mushrikeen, why did they do Hajj? Because from the time of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail alayhi salam, they knew about Hajj. But they changed it. Instead of worshipping that one Allah and coming to make Hajj, to recognize and remember the Tawheed that was taught, they put idols in the Kaaba. And they, instead of calling towards Tawheed, they changed up even the Talbiyah. They said, La sharika lak, there is no sharik except to Allah's signs. Just like today, people tell us, istighatha or tawassul. No, we ask Allah, but we go through this thing. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Today somebody says, Ya Ali, help. And then you tell him, Astaghfirullah, you're asking Ali instead of Allah. No, I'm asking Allah. You just said, Ya Ali. Confused. No, not the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Tawheed. He went to the mushrikeen, he told them, look, these idols you're worshipping can do nothing. This is wrong, this is shirk. Only Allah can be worshipped. Correct. And he went out. He didn't just sit in the masjid and say, okay, I'm going to give a talk and I'm going to... Yes, we give durus in masajid. Yes, we give halaqat in masajid. We teach as Rasulullah did. In Medina, for example, you see so many ahadith that he's sitting and he teaches the Sahaba about Tawheed, about Jannah, about Jahannam. Yes, but when you talk about da'wah, they went out to the people. Look at Nuh alayhi salam. Nuh alayhi salam, he would call the people openly and secretly. For 950 years. 50 less than 1,000 is 950 years. He called people, utilizing every way. And he went out and spoke to them openly, but some people he spoke to them privately. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spoke to people openly, but he also wrote letters to call people towards Tawheed. So we do this. We first and foremost should follow that way. We go out to where the people are. Today, alhamdulillah, our brother Hussein, may Allah reward him, and all the brothers that are involved in the da'wah, we went out to the park as they go. Not the park, the city center, you guys call it, right? With the little center thing. Huh? Clock tower. Okay. Not the Big Ben though, right? The clock tower. And we set out materials to give out. Like Rasulullah wrote letters, sent them out. So we give out. And we engage people. We talk to people. Alhamdulillah, we had more than 10 people took Shahada today. Yesterday we had 12 as well. Right? Imagine, in your city, wallahi, I have not seen these many numbers of people becoming Muslim in a day in other cities. Even our own city. Allahu barik lakum. And we want all of you involved in that, supporting in any way you can. So, we follow that way. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would also utilize other ways. In addition to this, how? When the Quraysh used to have a system, we would call today social media. Okay? When they had a warning for an army or an enemy that's attacking, they would go on a particular hill and they would take off all their clothes, get birthday suited. And they would tell people, Ya Sabah, meaning that there's an army coming, wake up, morning's going to bring war. And this was an alarm system for them. This was their message that was going to be sent out, social messaging. Right? Why? Because they knew this would happen. Why did they take their clothes off? Is because if you saw a naked dude on that mountain, just even if you don't hear him, something's wrong. Yeah? Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam utilized that system, but he didn't take his clothes off. He went on the same mountain, said the same thing. When the people gathered, he told them, you know the famous hadith, now you get the context of that. Why did he say, if I told you there's an army, would you believe? Why? Because that was their warning system for an army to attack Mecca. So he told them that if I told you, is there an army, there's an army, would you believe me? They said, of course, you're Sadiq, you're Ameen, you're the honest, you're the trustworthy. He said, then no. That there is something more important that I have to tell you about the day of judgment, about the questioning, about life after death. He gave them da'wah. So he utilized their social media, but within the bounds of Sharia. He didn't take his clothes off. He didn't expose his aura. So what does that mean? From the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we can utilize technologies. We can utilize YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, maybe even TikTok. I mean, I'm not on TikTok, but people post my videos. I don't have TikTok. But within the bounds of the Sharia, right? That means you can utilize them, but what you cannot do is put music in them. You cannot do is show women without hijab in them. You cannot violate the rules of Sharia. Within the rules of Sharia, we utilize all the technologies to spread the da'wah. And this is something we see from the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people, their da'wah, like I said, is just to attack other Muslims, just to cause fitna. Yeah. But is this what we see from the Sahaba? Is this what we see from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No. The concern for the people going to Jahannam, people who if they die in shirk, they'll be in the hellfire forever. That should be your number one concern. After that, if somebody gives the wrong fatwa, yes, you can refute it. If somebody tries to misguide the ummah, yes, you can refute it. But don't think da'wah just means making rudud. Some people, they think da'wah is just to speak to other Muslims. And yes, we believe in making islah. I mean, if somebody goes astray, Muslims are away from the masjid, Muslims are going into pubs and hooliganism or whatever, making gangs and stabbing each other. I don't know how a Muslim could stab another Muslim. And astaghfirullah. And yes, we need to bring those youth and people away from the religion to the masjid. No doubt to that. But that doesn't mean that that is the extent of da'wah. Da'wah is more than that. This is making islah of the ummah. May Allah reward anybody on the Qur'an and Sunnah making islah of the ummah. Bringing people back to Allah. Great. But what about all those kuffar that you live around? that you go to school with, that you work with, that if they die in this state, they'll be in hellfire forever, forever, ever. A Muslim, even if he's a fasiq, even if he's a fajr, if he dies on tawheed, someday Allah will take them out to the nar. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to go to Jahannam even for a second. If you think that you can handle it, go home, turn on your oven, stove, I don't know if you guys saw them here, right? And put your hand on the fire. Just an example. Then you're going to blame me for it. And when that fire hits your hand and it starts to burn, and that pain comes, let me know how long you can hold it there. What about a fire that is much worse than this? What about a fire that if you were taken out of it and put in this fire, you would feel at ease in it? What about a fire that your senses never get used to it? Even when you're in the world, if you get burned, the nerve endings are gone, you no longer feel the pain. The fire of Jahannam, you never get used to. So we don't want to go to Jahannam even for a day, even for a minute. We don't want to smell the smoke of Jahannam. But the Muslim is still taken out. But the kafir that dies on kufr will never be taken out. So how can you have a markaz of da'wah and it's right next to a kafir, and 30, 40 years nobody goes to that kafir and tells them, Akhi, do you know about Allah? You don't think that kafir will hold all of your umara by their necks on the day of judgment and say, how come he didn't tell me about tawheed? Yeah. So if you want to do da'wah and you want to say the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then no, this is the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Otherwise, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam could have gone and visited the Sahaba and brought them to the Masjid and sat and given them the most beautiful talks ever. And then that's it. No. He went out with any means necessary, whether sometimes with sayf, sometimes with letters, sometimes with words, sometimes with sending Sahaba like Mus'ab radiallahu anhu to Medina, Mu'adh bin Jabal radiallahu anhu, and he out when they were sending the Sahaba, Ali bin Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, he sent them out to places to call people towards Tawheed, to call the kuffar away from shirk and to the worshipping of Allah. And this is the way of da'wah for us. This is the way of da'wah for us. The way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The way of the Salaf of this ummah. When we look at the next evidence that I discussed, which was hadith that I recited in the beginning, authentic hadith, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that Islam began as something strange. Not strange because it's something wrong. Not strange because it's against the fitrah, but strange when the people become corrupted and you bring the right thing, they find it to be strange. You know? Imagine if there was a country that everybody's nose was cut off. You know, some people talk about this, right? Not a hadith or something, but imagine if a country, everybody's nose were cut. And then you went into that country with your nose. People would laugh at you. Look at him, he's got a nose. In reality, it's not that something's wrong with you, it's just the norm has become corrupted. Today, the same thing is true for society. Today, if you stand in your da'wah on the haqq, everybody attacks you. Somebody's going to attack you because they don't like the way you dress. Why you dress like that? Don't worry about how I dress. I look good. Don't worry about me. Somebody's going to attack you because you don't want to bow down to them. Brother, I only bow to Allah. I'm good. Somebody's going to attack you because your beard's too long, your thobe's too short. Brother, unless I'm doing something against the Qur'an and Sunnah, I don't need your advice. Barakallah khair. Somebody's going to attack you because they're jealous of you. And you will get all of this. But you have to ignore all of that. Let them say you're odd, let them say you're strange, let them say you're a weirdo, let them say you're a fundamentalist, let them say you're backwards, let them say you're whatever they want to say. You have to care about what Allah thinks of you. You have to say, what did Allah order me with? You have to say, what am I doing is in accordance with the akhlaq and the mannerisms and the manhaj of a Nabi and the methodology that was taught to us by the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And the way of this ummah has to be based on the way of the Salaf. What does that mean? I don't mean you have to join some kind of cult or something like this. No. You have to think, what is the best way? If it's in the Qur'an, obviously we know we have to follow it. If it's in Sahih Ahadith, we have to follow it. Done. But now, question gets to be. Some Imam says one thing, another Imam says one thing, one Masjid does one way, one other Masjid does one way, one wants to do Mawlid, and one wants to do Shab Barat, and one wants to do this, one wants to do that. What's the right way? Easy. Easy answer. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told us that the Ummah will split into 73 sects. Today, every sect is going to be, we're that one. We'll give you the criteria. 73 sects. All of them fil nar. All of them will be in the fire except one. Who is that one? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, they are upon what I am upon and my ashab, my companions. So now, you have to ask, there is, I'm not mentioning names, but there are jama'at, there are groups, and their main representation, for example, is they wear a green imam. I'm not mentioning any groups. Just saying. Maybe. Right? That's it. Green, 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 green. Everything green. I don't know. Bright green too. Right? Tell you. They say we're parrots. Not sure if that's a compliment. Okay. Did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wear a green imam? Anybody? In al-Bukhari, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wore a black imam. In the hadith of Ibn Khuzaymah, Abdurrahman bin Auf radiyan wore an imam, Rasulullah tied a white imam. Some other colors have been narrated, like a yellowish color and so on. I have not found a single hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam wearing a green imam. I'm not saying it's haram to wear a green imam. You could wear one. Why not? Halal. But to make that your identity, that's how I spot one. Yeah, he's wearing the green, me green, right? Then you know this jama'ah's base is not upon what Rasulullah and the Sahaba are upon. They have made their identity something else. Whether it's Maulana this and Maulana that and Mawlahum wa Mawlakum. But not my Mawla. My Mawla is Allah. Okay? So, this tells you what some groups, maybe the same groups, don't know, I'm mentioning names, their identities by the Mawlids. That's it. When Mawlid, Milad al-Nabi, ﷺ comes, khalas, then they make the whole neighborhood green. Wasn't bad enough that you had bad fashion taste yourself. Now, it's the whole place, and singing and dancing and nasheeds, and some people, some of them, they're flipping and doing all kinds of things. I'm not kidding, man. I've seen videos. So. Backflips and break dancing. You think I'm kidding? Daisy kicks and all that. Talented at least. I can't do it. Tayyib. So let's judge this. Easy. Have you ever read any ayat in the Quran about Mawlid? Sarihan? How long did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam live? How many years? 63 years. That means the 12th Rabiul Awwal came and went about 63 times. In those 63 years, did 1 year, once, before prophethood, after prophethood, did he alayhi salatu wasalam ever take the 12th Rabiul Awwal to be a day of celebration? Oh, but he fasted Mondays. Great, fast Monday. Fasted Thursday too, let's do that. I'm good. But when did he, Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, ever tell us, hey, 12th Rabiul Awwal, throw the party, get the green banners? Never. Did he or not? Maybe you guys know hadith in England that I don't know. You guys have a lot of stuff that I don't know. Huh? Did he? Okay. Who loved Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam the most from the people? The Sahaba. Khadija radiallahu anha, she supported him alayhi salatu wasalam. Aisha radiallahu anha, She took all that knowledge from him. Abu Bakr, Allahu Akbar. The only one, the ghar with him, the one who made hijrah with him, the one who gave all his wealth. Abu Bakr, Umar, sword, protected Prophet so much. Uthman got married to two of the daughters of Rasulullah. He's the closest to me in akhlaq. Ali, radiallahu anhu, we love all of them. Ali radiallahu anhu, and he's the nephew of the Prophet, cousin. The Prophet's very close companion, married to Fatima radiallahu anha, was in the bed of Rasulullah when he made hijrah. Ali radiallahu anhu. Hassan, Hussein, the grandchildren, the beloved grandchildren of Rasulullah, Abbas. So many Sahaba, Hamza radiallahu anhu. Right? We love all of the Sahaba. They were the ones that loved the Prophet. They lost their teeth, they lost their lives, they protected the Prophet. Yeah? Which one of them did Mawlid? Huh? None? Not even one? It's more than 120,000 Sahaba, no? Oh, wow. Okay. Who are the greatest imma, ulama, and fuqaha of this ummah in fiqh? Abu Hanifa, Malik, Shafi'i, Ahmad. Allah have mercy on all of those great imma. Huh? Great imams. You heard of Abu Hanifa or no? Nu'man ibn Thabit, by the way, his name. You heard of Anas ibn Malik? What about Malik ibn Anas? Tricked you guys. Anas ibn Malik, Sahabi, Malik ibn Anas, the Imam. You heard of Muhammad ibn Idris? The Shafi'i. Great Imam, Faqih. First book of Usul al-Fiqh, al-Salaf. You heard of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Abu Abdullah. You heard of the Musnad. Muhaddith, Faqih, Alim. These great Imam, the greatest scholars. Which one of them did Mawlid? When is the last time you heard Abu Hanifa was sitting and saying, Ta'al Badru? Did Abu Hanifa do Mawlid? Did Malik do Mawlid? Did Shafi'i do Mawlid? Did Ahmad do Mawlid? Some people is all Abu Hanifa, Abu Hanifa. I love Abu Hanifa. Okay. Did he do Mawlid? No. Why are you doing it? I love the Sahaba. Did they do Mawlid? No. Why are you doing it? I love Rasulullah. I give my life for Rasulullah. Okay, that's great, but did he do Mawlid? No. Why are you doing it? Didn't he tell us كل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار? That every bid'ah is an innovation. And every innovation will be in the hellfire. Oh, what about the Qur'an? Isn't this a bid'ah? Astaghfirullah. Like their tricks. Didn't Rasulullah complete the Qur'an? Did he not assign the surah? Did he not give the organization of it? Was it not written in the time of the Prophet ﷺ on hides of leather and bone? Did Abu Bakr radiallahu not standardize the one clear mushaf that was with him, and then later with Umar, and later with Hafsa? Did Uthman radiallahu not sent out copies of that to the Ummah? How can that be a bid'ah? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Alaykum bis-sunnati was-sunnatu khulafa ar-rashidin al-mahdiyyin." Upon you is my sunnah and the sunnah of those khulafa, those early khulafa, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, who were righteous and upon guidance. So what they did is not bid'ah. What about Taraweeh? How is it bid'ah? In al-Bukhari, Rasulullah came out, Sahabi came, he prayed with him in Jama'ah. One night he didn't come out, and then he explained to them, I didn't come out, so you don't take it as a fard. Then he gave the virtues of it. Man qama Ramadan. The Sahaba, they did this. So it can't be a bid'ah. Give me the same evidence for Mawlid from Rasulullah sallam, or from the Sahaba, or the Tabi'un even. I'll make it easy for you. No? You know this is wrong. When you look at all of these jama'ats and all of these, this is all not the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way of the Salaf ummah is to go out and call towards Tawheed, go to the people, have halaqat in the Masjid, dars, tadris as well. No, but not just that. Go out to the people and call towards Tawheed, and make that your way, and make that your precedence. Now, how? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he ordered some of the Sahaba to learn the Aramaic or Hebrew language. so he can understand the text. Because sometimes when you use the Bible in da'wah, people tell you, you made up your own way. Just because you're ignorant doesn't mean that I made up my own way. You learn something. He told them to learn the language, to know the scriptures, to give da'wah to them. At times, we'll find the hadith, for example, in Abu Dawud and others, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will tell the Yahud, bring your Tawrah, bring your book. And then he would show them in it, but they would try to hide with their hands. And he would tell them that you have added, and you have subtracted, and you've done this, and you've done that, and you've written with your own hands, and ascribed it to Allah. But he would tell them what is the things in their Bibles, and their Torahs, and their books. Even though they continue to change and adapt and rewrite those books. We don't believe that even at that time they had the complete original message of Musa alayhi salam. They didn't have the complete original Injil, what was revealed to Isa ibn Maryam. But from their corrupted works even, he would show them. And we do the same. He would tell them about what is from the Qur'an. The challenges of the Qur'an, the miracle of the Qur'an. We do the same. He showed them miracles like the splitting of the moon. And we tell them about this. Without being shy, without being, how are we going to prove it? No, we have evidences. More evidences than they have for their history, than they have for what they believe. I usually speak to an American audience who use like George Washington and stuff. But since I'm speaking to a British audience, I'm going to use you guys as history. Sayyid, name me an early king. King Henry. Everybody likes Henry, man. King Henry. What did Henry do?
8 wives.
8 wives? At the same time?
No, different.
Allah. No, different times. 4 at a time? Other than 8 wives, did he do anything interesting?
He made Protestantism in UK.
I think he wanted to divorce a wife, right? That's why he brought Protestantism. Okay, have you guys read this? Huh? He made his own church, the Church of England. I've heard of her. Who here has heard of King Henry? Raise your hands. Some of you guys haven't heard of, you never heard of King Henry? What kind of school you go to, bro? You don't have a history class? What? You can't sleep in my talk. Like, by the way, if you want to catch up on sleep, like, go somewhere else. I'm going to call on you, right? So, King Henry, how many of you heard that he created the Church of England? Raise your hand. Brothers in the back, you would, yeah, you never heard of it? No? What school do you go to? You gotta talk to your history teacher. What kind of grade did you get in history? Huh? Okay. Prove it. Prove it. Who saw him? I'll wait. Who saw him? No names? Go ahead.
His friends.
Excellent. What's their names? You don't know? That doesn't really help much then, does it? His friends, how was their memory? How was their moral character? Probably not good. Them kings were wild, bro. Alright. Who did his friends tell it to?
They wrote it down.
Excellent. Where are the manuscripts?
British Museum.
Hmm?
Maybe in the British Museum.
Maybe. Which museum? Who authenticated the manuscript? Who scribed it? Who protected it? Where was it written? These things that we take as facts would not hold up to hadith science. If you told me a hadith and I said, who heard it from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you said, some people. And I said, who did they tell it to? Which tabi'i did they tell it to? And you said, I don't know. And I said, who did they tell it to? You said, I don't know. And then I found a manuscript hundreds of years later, which we cannot verify, and there's that break of majhul, one after the other. We will call this a mu'allaq hadith. They will reject it. Extremely weak. Rejected, munkar. Could go to being even mawdu', a fabrication. We wouldn't accept it at all. Now, we have a miracle of the Prophet ﷺ that during his time he split the moon. And some of the Muslims today, because of the weakness of their iman, because of the weakness of their faith, they want to deny this. Oh, no. There's one guy in the UK. Yes, I'm not going to mention his name. Yeah. He's in the UK, I remember now. Something Qitta, like a kid. Abu Qitta, I think it was. Somebody got that one? Mufti Abu Qitta. It's not late, I can tell you that much. That's a lie. Abu Pisho, Billy. He denied it. No, it wasn't really a spending it alone. It was like maybe an asteroid hit, or it was like a natural occurrence. There was a eclipse. Well, there was an eclipse. Why would it be the big deal? Where's the miracle? Why would the Quraysh be so shocked? Why would they go to Abu Bakr radiyan and say, this? Why would this be something mentioned in the Qur'an as alamat of the day of judgment that are coming true? Eclipses happen all the time. Why would there be so many mutawatir ahadith establishing where this was a miracle? They said, what do you want to see? And they said, we want to see the moon split. And Rasulullah showed them as a miracle, right? If it's a natural occurrence, there's no miracle. But the weakness of iman, the wanting to sell out the religion and be accepted, because maybe when you go to their kafir friends and they tell them and they go, what? The moon split? They're like, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Weak. Not us. Tayyib. When I asked you about King Henry, the 8 wives, Church of England, you couldn't name anybody that met him. I'm sure you could research somebody's name and find out. But I can tell you right now, who saw the splitting of the moon? Abdullah ibn Abbas. Not only can I tell you who, I can tell you about them. What's his name? Abdullah. What's his father's name? Abbas. What's his son? Fudayl. I can tell you a lot more about him. His brother, Fudayl. I can tell you where he lived, Mecca. I can tell you he made hijrah. I can tell you he was the son of Abbas, who was the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. I can tell you that he was one of the great memorizers of the Qur'an. I can tell you how was his memory. It was amazing. He memorized the Qur'an, he revised it, he taught it. I can tell you about his students, Mujahid and Ata and others, the Tabi'un, who took knowledge from them. I can tell you the names and biographies of not just him, but everybody that he gave this news to, from the Tabi'un and Taba Tabi'un, and who wrote them down, and all the different books that brought them down. And I can give you the biographies of the authors who wrote down these things, like Al-Bukhari and Muslim and Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi and Majah and Ahmad and others. Okay, that's just one chain. The mutawatir chains. Anas ibn Malik. Who was his father? Malik. Everything about these Sahaba is well documented. His mother, his father who didn't become Muslim, his stepfather, I'll give you all of this. Sulaim and Abu Talha, and all of this. We can give you their entire biography. Where was he from? Medina. Which tells you that he saw something that happened in Mecca when he was in Medina. It tells you that people in other geographical locations also saw the splitting of the moon, not just the people of Mecca. We can tell you others, like Abu Sufyan and Al-Mughira, who were not Muslim at the time. Abu Sufyan later became Muslim, and he was one of the reporters, died a mushrik, but still was from the people that reported seeing the splitting of the moon. Imagine, today we're at the park, or not the park, Plaza, clock tower. And if I was at the clock tower, there were Muslims and there were non-Muslims. And if I told them, right now, I just split the sun. I looked up and I said, like this, and I split the sun. And non-Muslims will be rejoicing, they'll be jumping up and down. And some of you UK fitna guys would also be rejoicing. They got him! Right? They'll be jumping up and down, we caught him! And even my own Muslim brothers, even Hussein will be like, brother, I think you need some rest. You haven't slept enough, man. You've been on the go a lot because the sun's not split. Right? When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, by the will of Allah, and the power of Allah, split the moon, not only did the Sahaba confirm this, they said we saw it, but the mushrikeen confirmed it. The people of shirk, the enemies of the Prophet ﷺ, they said, I don't know, it's magic or something, but we did see it. They went out, look good, Bidayah wa Nihaya, look at Ibn Kathir. They went out to the Bedouins and the travelers, the tribes, the caravans that were out, and they said, hey, maybe they did magic on our eyes. Did you guys see it? They said, yes, we saw it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Qamar, the first ayah established this, and years and years the mushrikeen, they heard this ayah, they knew these ahadith, they never denied it. They all admitted it happened. Imagine if it hadn't happened, wouldn't they be like, what? Oh, no, this didn't happen, we were there. Show me one time that any enemy of the Prophet ﷺ even said that, yeah, we were in Mecca, it didn't happen. I can show you a hadith that they say it did. So when we have such miracles, we give da'wah like that. We're not ashamed of them, we educate ourselves about it. We have a video on this issue. We give all the references, scan all the books, show them on the pages. So this is the way of da'wah of the Qur'an, talking about the miracles of the Qur'an, scientific miracle, linguistic miracle, prophecies that came true, and giving da'wah from the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and about the mu'jizat, the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ that are from Sahih Hadith. Don't go into the weak stuff. Like this splitting of the moon is from what we call mutawatir. So many chains, it's ilm al-yaqeen. It's relied upon knowledge, no doubt to it. We give da'wah by going out and speaking. We don't give da'wah by using the principles of kuffar. What does that mean? If I go out and I say, well, according to Aristotle, according to Plato, according to ilm al-kalam, according to philosophy, according to this, according to that, there must be this, and if there isn't, then there is this, and then there is this. You may sound impressive, but the problem there is now your playing field is no longer the Qur'an and Sunnah. So what happens now is when they use the same principles back at you, in some of the things that have to do with the sifat of Allah, that have to do with aqaid of Islam, you will either now violate their principles, you will not bound by their principles, or you will sell out your religion. You will try to, okay, maybe that doesn't mean this, maybe this means this. Not us. Our playing ground, our field, our rules, our usul is Qur'an and Sunnah. And that way, we never sell out our principles. This is the way of da'wah from the Qur'an and the Sunnah and the way of the Salaf al-Ummah. And da'wah will take different forms at different times. Sometimes da'wah is done when you go and speak to the people. Sometimes da'wah is done when you will write or give out the writings like pamphlets and booklets, like Rasulullah used to write, not himself, but he ordered writing of the letters to the kings, and they were taken and given to them. Yeah? Sometimes da'wah will be done through your akhlaq, because you're working with somebody. You show good mannerisms, as the Sahaba used to show good mannerisms, and many people become Muslim through that. Sometimes da'wah will use social media, whatever is there within the halal. Now don't be doing little dances and stuff for da'wah, we're good. Don't be putting sisters with makeup and no hijab and this da'wah. No, that's not da'wah. You're spreading fitan. Da'wah has to be in accordance with the Qur'an and the Sunnah and the way of the Salaf. Not sectarian way. Not like, okay, if you're doing da'wah but you don't listen to my Sheikh, you're not doing da'wah. Who are you and who's your Sheikh? No. Our da'wah has to be قال الله وقال الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام, and the actual Salaf, meaning Abu Hanifa and Shafi and Malik and Ahmad, and those ulama that followed them. It doesn't have to be that you like every alim that I like. It doesn't have to be you follow every alim that I follow. As long as you follow ulama of the haqq, of the adillah, of the evidences. These are the principles of our da'wah. And inshallah with that, I'll open up to questions and answers inshallah.